Hey everyone, this is DW's Darius and welcome back to the fish room. So today I want to give you guys a full fish room walkthrough. I want to show you all my aquariums. I want to try to give you guys a look at all my fish and bring you guys up to speed. There's always a lot going on in this fish room. First off, I do have to apologize. In my last video, I told you guys that I was going to make a separate video for all my aquariums so that I could give you guys a detailed update on each tank. I started, but I didn't finish, so I do apologize about that. So now I'm just going to go ahead and try to get every aquarium in this video. And we're going to start off with my largest tank. This is my 880 gallon aquarium. Since the last time that you saw this tank, we did have a tragedy. I no longer have my Oscar cichlid. He is dead, and that's because he picked a fight with the pike cichlid. I told you guys that this pike is very random with his personality. Sometimes this could be the most aggressive fish that I own, while other times she stays to herself and minds her own business. The Oscar challenged her, and consequently the Oscar is no longer with us. She killed him in like a day. So yeah, that happened about maybe 2 months ago, so that definitely was terrible. Besides that, in my last video when I showed you guys this tank, some of you guys wanted to know exactly how big this guy is. This is my biggest fish, and you guys wanted the measurement. Now I refuse to take these fish out the water to measure them, especially these peacock bass, because they're fighting fish. If I try to catch them, they're going to destroy the tank, they're going to hurt themselves, they might even hurt me. So I'm not going to do that. So what I did was I took my yardstick, I put it in front of the tank, and I took a few pictures. And based on what I see, I'm going to say that this fish is approximately 29 inches long, a personal record, a beast of a fish. And I love him. He's a gentle giant. As big as he is, he doesn't cause any problems, and he's beautiful. So yeah, that is my Cichlid temensis, my biggest fish ever. Next to that, we have my Cichlid ocellaris in the back there. I always give you guys the same stories, but if you're new here, I'm going to go over again. Cichlid ocellaris, my oldest peacock bass. Not the best looking, but one of my favorites because I could come and just hand pet it. So we'll see if she's in a mood to be pet today. Looks like she's not in the mood, but normally I could go and I could just give her a little touch, just a little size comparison real quick so you can know how big that temensis is. But yeah, my Cichlid ocellaris. This is the young male. He's letting me touch him because he's greedy. And my female is right here. It's hard to see with the light, but she just let me pet her. So that's the reason why she is one of my favorite. Even though she's not, she looks good. She just doesn't look as good as some other. She doesn't look as good as this younger guy, but she's one of my favorite. After that, we have the most aggressive fish in this tank, Cichlid Orinoco. He's doing his thing. He still likes to give this guy a hard time, but lately he hasn't been doing as bad as he could be. So that's him. Then after that we have my Cichlid Azul, a very beautiful peacock bass. When it comes to looks, the Cichlid Azul might be my favorite looking fish in this aquarium. Just a beast of a fish, very big. The Cichlid Azul is trying to challenge the Cichlid ocellaris when it comes to size. Right now they're hungry, so he's at the top, but if he comes down a little bit later in this video, I'll show you guys, and he's definitely a decent sized fish. You can see him right there, and I love that view, very beautiful fish. And then lastly we have this guy, Cichlid Mono. This guy should be bigger, but he's not because he's been getting a lot of aggression from the other male in this aquarium, my Cichlid Orinoco. He's a male, this guy's a male. You know, males are very aggressive towards other males. So he's been restricted with his growth because the other guy is just harassing him so much. In the last video you saw that this guy had a huge nuchal hump, and you see that that nuchal hump is down, and that's just a reminder that that nuchal hump is based on their hierarchy in this aquarium, which is very interesting how they get transformed their appearance like that. But he's in here, and he's also a very beautiful looking fish. After that, when it comes to size, I think the next biggest fish is this guy, very beautiful. Normally we don't get to see this guy, but he's hungry, so he's out in the front. And this is a very decent sized fish, especially for the breed. It's a Mesohairus geoffroeus, a fish that's not really seen too often in the hobby. For those of you who are not familiar with cichlids, this guy's in the same family as this guy, the Feste. The Feste is definitely the more famous cousin. So if you're familiar with the Red Terror, this is the cousin. I believe that this fish should be called the Green Terror because he's green and beautiful. But yeah, he's definitely a trophy of the fish. He's about maybe 14 inches long. And like I said, it's rare to get these fish to that size. I'm definitely glad that I have them. After that, we have the pike cichlid. Now, once again, I told you guys the pike just committed murder about 2 months ago, but you couldn't tell based on her behavior today because, like I said, she likes to spend her time to herself, and there's only when other fish provoke her, she unlocks that crazy personality. But I love her look. She doesn't look as good as she could look. If she was breeding, she would definitely be a lot more decorated, but she's in here chilling, and she looks cool. Underneath her, we have 2 4-line Pictus catfish. I keep saying it, I want to get these guys out the aquarium, maybe put them in a tank that I can enjoy them a little bit more because I don't really see them too often on the bottom. Same thing with a Polypterus immatura that's behind that big rock over there. And then lastly, we have my female jaguar. Sometimes I forget she's in here. She's forced to stay at the top because these peacock bass like to challenge her. I was considering taking her out and putting her with Endonymus to see if they breed. He's a jaguar Dovii hybrid. She's a golden morph jaguar cichlid, so they definitely could breed. It's just a matter of whether or not she's gonna accept him because she is bigger than him. She's about 16 inches, and I definitely don't want to give her a hard time. She's one of my older fish. She's a trophy as well. Yeah, I gotta find the right place for her. After that, let's just take a look at Endonymus since I mentioned him. He's down here doing his thing. He's hungry. Not really the fastest growing fish. I've had this guy for, I think it's been about 3, maybe even 4 years, and he's about 1 foot long. But I love his personality. Very interactive, very territorial. Not the most beautiful fish, and it's crazy because that's by choice. If he wanted to, he has this nice golden coloration that he could show, but he doesn't want to. He likes to show that gray color, and it just fits his personality. So he's down here doing cool, and it's 125. And then above we have my 350-gallon aquarium. You can see in the back we got a little bit of an argument between my female Dovii and one of the Vieja. But yeah, this tank is one of the most active aquariums when it comes to just the way these fish interact with each other. There's always something to see, always an interaction between fish in this aquarium, always a challenge. Most of these fish originate from Central America. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I just made a detailed video about this aquarium. But yeah, most of these guys come from Central America, and they're all doing good for the most part. I do want to get this Feste out because this guy is just growing so fast. He's almost the biggest fish in this aquarium. He's not from Central America, and he's also the most aggressive fish in this tank. I do have a tank that I want to put him in, which I'll show you guys next. But for now, he's in here because that tank isn't ready yet. He's a beautiful fish, but he's just so aggressive. We have my Starry Night cichlid back there. She's getting outgrown. The camera isn't really picking her up back there, but she's a very beautiful fish. She's just getting outgrown by her tank mate, so eventually I would like to take her out. But besides that, everybody else doing awesome. My female Parasite, she's still the tank boss because she has all that girth, and whenever this black belt challenges her, she just has a little bit more weight to push back, so she's still the queen of the aquarium. We have this guy, just a little beefy dude. Love that nuchal hump, looking awesome. And then out of my Bifasciatus, this one is my favorite. He's quietly getting bigger, and I just love him out of all my other Bifasciatus. I love all of them, but this one dude right here just sticks out the most. I just think he's a lot better looking. Besides that, you can see we have, this is Endonymus' sister. You can see she's trying to show, my camera's like not cooperating, but she's trying to show that golden coloration. That's the same color that this guy is able to show. He's just unwilling to show. But yeah, that is the 350 doing awesome. As these guys get bigger, I do want to take some guys out. As I told you guys, the Feste, I want to get them out of here. I might want to take out some of these Bifasciatus because it's just going to make life easier for the ones that remain in this aquarium. I have 6, you know, that competition is crazy, especially since I have 2 females and 4 males. So eventually I might take out 2 or 3 of them. Maybe I'll take out 4 of them and just leave a pair in this aquarium. But if anybody has to stay, it's definitely going to be my big boy, my favorite one. So yeah, that is the 350 doing awesome. I forgot to mention about some of these plants. I'm growing pothos up on top of this aquarium. Inside the sump, I have a bunch of Wandering Jew. And then on top of the 880-gallon aquarium, these peace lilies are insane. They're huge. They're actually getting a little bit too big. They're starting to suffocate itself. Like some of these leaves on the bottom are starting to yellow out because the top leaves are taking too much light. But that's a good thing. I can just trim it and it's going to grow some more, and it's going to consume even more waste nitrates that these fish produce. After that, we have this 125 over here. Now I told you guys I have a place for that male feste, and this is my feste project. So I'm growing out some festes in this aquarium. I have 3 juveniles that I bought about 2 months ago. This right here is the most dominant, and then we have 2 other ones that are forced to hide in the shadows because this one is just so aggressive. But I'm looking for a female. I bought 3 of them so that it is a gamble, because all 3 could be males, which would suck. But I'm hoping that one of these 3 is a female. Once I have a confirmed female, I want to bring my male, the big male that I showed you guys. I want to bring him into this aquarium, and then I'm going to have a mated pair feste. But for now, I have 3 of them. Like I said, this one is the tank boss. We have the giant Danio, because these guys are very active, and they bring a little bit more comfort to the feste. If it was just a feste, it will most likely hide all day. But these Danio, they swim all day, they're very active, and they just really have that feed and frenzy behavior. And it definitely rubs off on the, look, I stick my fingers in there, look at that. That energy is very contagious. It rubs off on feste, and I believe it's definitely a nice collab, these 2 fish. The Danio definitely bring the most out of these feste. Besides that, growing a few plants in here. We have some Java fern, different types of Java. This is just my scrap plants that I couldn't find for any other aquarium, and they're doing good in here. We also have this weird green algae, which is actually looking pretty cool. It's growing on the background. And yeah, this tank is one of my favorite tanks. I have a chair to the left, and I just sit and it's facing this tank, and it's definitely a nice tank to watch. Above we have some pothos growing, and then I have a Boston fern over here. So yeah, definitely a nice aquarium. Okay everyone, so we're out of the fish room, but I have a few more tanks to show you guys. This one right here is my 210 gallon aquarium, and there's a lot going on with this aquarium. I actually broke a couple of fish keeping rules when it comes to the stock of this tank. I have fish that normally people wouldn't recommend. I actually didn't plan on mixing these fish. It just kind of happened, and so far I'm not regretting it. It's a very entertaining aquarium. It's actually my favorite aquarium at the moment. So I'll give you guys a look at all the fish in this tank. We have the main fish, my bala sharks. These are some pretty decent sized bala sharks. This biggest one right here is about 10 inches. And then the smallest one is going to be about 8 inches. So they're all pretty big, and are definitely living up to the name of being sharks. I love those black fins, that silver body, and the fact that they are almost non-stop swimming. Definitely a very beautiful and just calming fish to watch. Being that I had sharks in the tank, I wanted to stick with the theme, so I added these roseline sharks. I have 8 of them. When I bought them, they were about 1 inch. Now they're about 3 inches. They definitely have a lot of activity, and they also are very entertaining. And the roseline sharks and the bala sharks are in the Cyprininae family. And I was like, why not add one of my favorite fish from that family, tiger barbs? So we have 10 of these tiger barbs, and that right there is just amazing. The combination of the different colors and the different sizes. Something that I always wanted was to be able to mix big monstrous fish with smaller fish, and it's definitely looking awesome in this aquarium. And we also have a convict cichlid. Now if you remember, before I added these bala sharks, I had Endonymus, my hybrid that I showed you guys earlier. He was in this tank, and I added him with this convict. The convict was fish food originally. I used to breed convicts, and this was one of several that I offered to Endonymus. Endonymus ate all of them except this one. Now when this one was younger, she was actually showing female coloration. She had the orange stomach like female convicts. However, in this tank, she was the tank boss. And a lot of times, even if you get a female, if she gets that higher position in the hierarchy, she's going to show male attributes. And I believe that even though this fish looks like a male, it's a female. So she has long flowing fins. She doesn't show that female coloration, but I do believe that this is a female convict, and she definitely is a big one. She's about 4 inches, and she's in here. I also have this guy. Bought this guy maybe 8 months ago, and this is a grow out. You can see he kind of has a little scar because he's been challenging a female convict. I bought him he was about 1 inch. Now he's about 4 inches. I'm growing him out for my 350 gallon aquarium. However, I'm really loving the way he looks in this tank. Very beautiful. This is one of my only tanks that get natural light. And as you can imagine, this guy with natural light looks phenomenal. He was challenging the convict for the highest position in the tank, and obviously he lost. So that's the reason why he's swimming away like that. Who else? We have these Paradise Gourami. I'm going to show you guys after this my no-tech aquariums. I started off with 2 Paradise Gourami. They wouldn't stop breeding, so I had to take some out. Ended up putting some in here, so I have 5 of them. And this aquarium, we have 2 right there, 1 right here, and they like to stay in the brush. I always wanted the pink kissing gourami, so we have 1 right here. I just randomly added that fish. What else? We have these Bosmani rainbow fish. I have 3 of them. I don't even know the reason for which I chose them. I think when I bought these tiger barbs, they were on sale, so I couldn't resist it. So I went and bought 3 of them. And then lastly, we have African cichlids, which is the biggest shock. You know, I used to keep African cichlids. I had an African cichlid tank. I sold all of them, but of course, it's almost impossible to get rid of it. Mabona. These were all babies hiding inside the tank. I brought them up here, and they just exploded with growth. They got very big. And not only that, we have some males. We have 1 male and multiple females. The male is right back there. You can see he has some very beautiful coloration. He's a hybrid between a Mason Reef and a albino red top zebra. Very beautiful fish. And like I said, I'm breaking a couple of rules, mixing African cichlids with New World cichlids with rainbow fish, barbs, a huge variety of fish. But like I said, I'm not regretting it. I'm actually really loving this combination of fish. One thing that I noticed is that they all pretty much, my camera is like not focusing. One thing I noticed is that they pretty much stick in their own groups. The bottlehead sharks, as you can see, they stick together. The tiger barbs, they're in their little school together. They stay together. The Bosmani rainbow fish, you can see all 3 of them at the same time. And then the roseline sharks, they stick together. The African cichlids, surprisingly, they stick together. They don't really interact with the other fish in the tank. This male is always trying to seduce the females. There's about maybe 6 females, 2 of which at the time are holding eggs in their mouth. So he pretty much spends his time focusing on them. And then we have these 2 yellow labs. They pretty much go back and forth with each other. And it's shocking to see how most of these fish don't even interact with each other. They stick in their own groups. And that's part of the reason why I'm so fascinated with this mix of fish. Same thing goes with the gourami. They pretty much stick to themselves. The only fish that interact with other fish are my New World cichlids, the convict and the electric blue Texas cichlid. They're always trying to be tank boss. That's just the personality of New World cichlids. So they're interacting with each other. You saw earlier that this fish actually chased one of these bigger bottlehead sharks away. But I'm definitely a very entertaining aquarium. And just to give you guys a little look at the aquascape, you can see I have the cinder blocks. The fish, they love the cinder blocks. They're always hiding and swimming through them. Not only that, the cinder blocks actually raise the pH. And you know, the African cichlids, they like a higher pH. Same thing with the bottlehead sharks and the barbs. They are comfortable with the higher pH. And also the Australian rainbow fish. You can see we have some plants cascading down into the water. I'm growing some pothos above. We also have some Swiss cheese plant. I used to have a giant fern over here. It just got way too big, so I took it out. And yet we still get fern leaves because some of the ferns started to grow on the back pieces of wood back there. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, it's definitely a tank that I didn't intend on creating when it comes to the variety. But I'm definitely not complaining. And I'm actually going to keep going. Because, you know, I got 3 Australian rainbow fish, 2 males, 1 female. That's a bad ratio. So I definitely got to get more females. The tiger barbs, they definitely won't mind if their school is bigger. So yeah, this is a current look at my 210. Definitely not something that I would normally do, but I'm definitely enjoying it. Next, I have 2 20-gallon aquariums. These are my no-tech aquariums. Mainly that these tanks don't rely on technology. We don't have any filters, we don't have any lights, just a natural balance. These tanks are doing okay, but I do want to do some upgrades. And mainly I want to go ahead and just give this tank a new substrate. This tank has been running for about 2 years, and most of the plants in here are root feeders, meaning that they rely on a nutritious substrate. It started off good, but of course all good things come to an end. They pretty much consume most of the nutrients that was in this dirt. So I want to go ahead and give this tank a new fresh batch of dirt. And the way I plan on doing that, I already bought a new 20-gallon aquarium. So I'm just going to put some new dirt in there, transfer all the plants and fish to that new aquarium, and repeat the process for that tank. Now, even though I do want to give this tank fresh dirt, it's not doing bad today. If you look inside, we still have a decent amount of growth. Not as much as before. Before you couldn't even see to the other side. But we still have enough to keep the fish alive and healthy. It's going to be hard to get a close-up on these fish, but if you look at them, they're not breathing heavily. They're healthy. So it's still a decent ecosystem. However, it could be better if I provide the more nutrients in a substrate, because I have Amazon swords, we have dwarf sage, and it would just be a more thicker, denser jungle aquarium if I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If we come over here, I'm going to do the same thing. Once I have this tank empty, I'm going to repeat the process for this tank. This tank is actually looking terrible, and the reason for that is because you can see this tank is further to the right. When I do a water change, I just dump the bucket and it stirs up all the dirt, and that's why the glass is kind of stained with that dirt, so you could barely see what's going on in the inside of it. And then the plants in this tank are kind of wild. We have a bunch of plants climbing over. We have plants from the planters climbing into the tank, so it's pretty wild. I kind of like the look of it. I know the fish really enjoy this wild scenario because it's kind of what they would get in a wild. However, I would like to be able to see in the inside of this tank, so I'm going to go ahead and do that in the weeks to come. I did add some new plants. This is a peace lily. This came out of my 880-gallon aquarium. Based on the plants in that 880, you know that that's going to get massive. So yeah, that's just a look at these two aquariums today, but eventually I do plan on changing things up, making it a little bit more healthier. I do want to change up some of the fish. In this tank I have this male paradise gourami. He has a female, and I also have a little baby somewhere in here. And then we have the cherry barbs. I probably am going to keep the cherry barbs and just have the male. I'll put the female in this aquarium, take all the gourami out of this tank, and put another schooling fish, maybe albino cherry barbs or white cloud minnows or something. But I think I prefer these schooling fish over the bigger guys because the bigger guys keep breeding, and the smaller guys are just prettier. So yeah, that's a look at my no-tech aquariums. Okay everyone, so welcome to the backyard. Now I want to give you guys a tour of the backyard pond. The pond is doing awesome. We're in spring, one of my favorite seasons because everything just comes back to life, and it's definitely looking awesome. Now I'm sure that the first thing that you notice are these yellow flowers. These are coming from my iris, and this plant is just aggressive in this pond. Aggressive in a good way. It's getting so huge. From left to right, it's about 8 feet wide. It's two separate plants, but it's just one iris section. So we have 8 feet in the width, and the height is about 5 feet tall. And I know that when a plant grows so big so fast, it's consuming a lot of waste that these fish produce, and it's making this ecosystem that much more healthier. So I definitely love it. It is kind of taking away some of the view, but I know that the pros far outweigh the cons. Like I said, it's removing nitrates that the fish produce. It's providing some shade for the fish, and it's just doing awesome. So we have that iris, which is having a huge impact on the pond. Besides that, let's take a look at the main water feature, my waterfall, which is looking amazing. I love this waterfall because one, it's very beneficial. All that water movement is definitely creating a lot of oxygen for the pond. Two, it holds a lot of beneficial bacteria. There's a lot of rocks and gravel within the waterfall, and there's definitely a lot of bacteria in there. And three, it's a DIY waterfall. I made it myself, and there's always a little bit more pride in it when you've done something yourself. And I think it came out awesome. It looks very natural. Let's see if I can give you guys a closer look. We have a lot of algae growth. All the plants in here, they're wild plants. They came on their own. I might have to do some trimming because eventually they're gonna take over the pond. But definitely looks very natural, and definitely one of my greatest achievements in this fish keeping hobby. Besides that, I'm gonna give you guys a look at the fish, but first I want to give you guys a little walk around. I haven't really been doing too much when it comes to the overall landscape. I do want to trim some of those weeds over there, but we have my grass starting to grow. We have a little fern, some hostas. Come to the right, we have creeping Jenny starting to spread all over. This is my bog. Now in the previous years you couldn't even see this bog because it was full of cattails. The cattails were nice, they were just too dominant, They actually started to create a little dam in this bog with their roots, and they were causing water to spill out of it. So I had to rip it out, redo it. So this is the first year of this new bog. I got new dirt in there. I have new lava rock. The creeping Jenny took no time to take over. I have creeping Jenny all over here, so it easily just climbed back in there. And then I have these horsetails. They're a little bit less dominant when you compare them to the cattails, so they're not going to take over as much. And then I also went and grabbed a umbrella palm from out the house. It's a tropical plant, so I'm going to see how it does out here. It died, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come back. Yeah, that's a nice look at the bog. This runs on solar power, so the sun is away, so it's not really running right now. But from like 12 to 5, it's running consistently, and it comes through and it spills in there. You can't even see because of all this iris, but there's a log with a tube in it, and it comes out the log, and it's great. Besides that, I guess now I could give you guys a look at the fish. Now I've fed these guys a couple of times throughout the day. With these fish, I like to feed them small portions multiple times a day because that's the best way to get them used to you. And let's see if I could give them a little food right now. You can see they're getting a little bit stirred up. They see me, they know that I'm the giver of good things. So let's see if we can get some action. Definitely nice to see that energy with these fish. I actually don't really know what's going on when it comes to the fish. I don't actually know how many fish are in here. I know that I have a couple of blackfish, which I know all the blackfish in this pond were born in this pond. So I'm going to have to take time to actually count everything and see who's in here. I know that the biggest fish in the pond is my white butterfly. I'm going to call him a platinum butterfly. Very beautiful. He has to be about 22 inches long. Second biggest fish is going to be my diamondback right here. Then everybody else is around the same size and just doing awesome. I have some common goldfish in here, mostly koi, and then there's one sunfish in here. I thought I'd call all the sunfish out of here, but there's still one more in here. I'm going to leave them from now. But yeah, that is the backyard pond. From there, I have a few other projects that I'm working on. Over here we have a Tupperware container. Let me see if this thing has the actual size. So we have a 40-gallon Tupperware container. I had an idea of getting some aquaponics outside, and this thing has been up for about, I'm going to say 3 weeks. We have this right here is like mint, but this I believe is tomato, and this one right here is cucumber. We're going to see what we could do with that. Aquaponics, of course, you need fish, so we have some goldfish in here. Eventually I'm going to get some tropical fish because this is actually going to be my quarantine aquarium. I have a quarantine tank in the fish room, but why not use this? This is outside. This is solar powered, so it's not on the grid. And this thing runs like all day because it's an air stone. The air stone requires less energy. So even when the sun is down, this thing is running overnight based on the little charge that this thing gets. So definitely very cool product. But yeah, we have some goldfish in here. We have about 10 goldfish. These guys, I'm not going to lie, these are going to be feeders for my predatorial peacock bass. Eventually I might come over here, and you see I have that pond over there. I might set that up and get some more goldfish, raise them up, get them big, get them healthy, and feed them to my peacock bass, because my peacock bass, they're predators, and it's not bad to give them a nice live treat every now and then. But yeah, this video is long, and that's been an update on all of my livestock. As always, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully I could get, look at them. Hopefully I could get more active on YouTube and just on all my social media. Life is just extremely busy. I'm not gonna lie, it became very easy to not make videos. So I'm trying to get back into the habit of it, but I thank everybody for their patience, and I'll see you next time.